Welcome back. Piper Jaffray calls 2019 the year of the restaurant. The firm calling Chipotle, McDonald's, Darden, and Shake Shack their top picks. We've made them our call of the day just in time for your lunchtime meal. Josh Brown.
Did anybody see that coming?
It's not even in the teleprompter. It's like
It doesn't even have to. It just happens naturally now.
All right, I'm chubby. What else?
No, we didn't say that.
What do you got?
Talk to us about these stocks.
Well, listen, I think it's really important. They almost, like lately, the last couple of years, they don't tend to trade in a herd the way some industry subgroups do. These stocks are very idiosyncratic, and they very much march to the tune of their own drummer. And you can find some really big dispersion between the companies that have exposure in China, for example, and the ones that don't. And you can also think about some of them as growth companies, and then some of them, really, the price is almost a function of what the dividend yield is. I'm looking at you, McDonald's. And so I tend to think of them as on a one-on-one basis. When I look at them...
Let's do it. Let's take it one-on-one. Let's go down the list of the four.
Right.
Give me McDonald's first, since you mentioned that. Give me Mickey D's.
McDonald's does not mess up. Like, McDonald's might have, 4 quarters they report a year under this new CEO over the last 3 years. They might report 4 quarters, and one of them is a little bit slippery. But the other 3, they're solid, and they are innovating, and people don't think of them as a, quote, millennial brand or whatever. But I would wager that of the whole list, millennials spend more time in McDonald's than any of those names, Chipotle included. So I would say it's my number 1, and Shake Shack I own, and that's my number 2. And the other 2, I really think that you have to know those names to have an opinion. They're not just trading with the group.
So I'll give you McDonald's. And, Scott, I know you want to go company specific, but the overall call of the restaurant industry, I got to stay away from this. I mean, there's 2 things that are wrong with this. First off, this is hyper competitive. I'm looking at the front page of the report. There's 20 names here, and missing from those 20 names are about 10 more that we would know and recognize, like a Yum Brands. And with this hyper competitive industry, you've got multiples. If you look at Chipotle, for instance, or Shake Shack, these things are nosebleed. You would think that these guys have the market all to themselves at these multiples. They don't. McDonald's is the cream of the crop, not only because of the innovation that Josh is mentioning, but because it's only 22 times. Some of us with a little more gray hair than we like to admit remember that 15, 16 times was traditionally a good multiple for McDonald's. But I'll give you, because of the innovation, it deserves a slightly more multiple, but not this whole industry with this amount of competition.
Anybody want to...
Well, I bought Chipotle. I believe in the turnaround story. I think you're seeing the recovery.
You're paying like 45 times this year's earnings.
Yeah, it's too expensive.
Ooh, that scares me.
Anyway,
like I said, I bought Chipotle.
Come on, I mean, but we get it. But you bought Roku. It's a million times earnings.
That's not even remotely comparable.
I'm just saying.
Okay. I mean, look, Roku does not exist in an industry where it's got literally 30 other competitors.
Jim, with all due respect, if it were as simple as take an algorithm and say,
don't give me the price doesn't matter. Okay?
No, not the price doesn't matter. That's not what these
stocks. In a competitive industry.
But they don't trade on that intra-month, intra-quarter.
I am telling you, I don't want to own this industry with this amount of competition and these multiples. You can take the other side. That's fine. I'm telling you my position.
Consumer confidence is high. Rising wages are good. You've got a great management team that has come into Chipotle. It is a recovery story. It is trading with momentum once again on its side for the very first time in years. That's why I bought it. That's why I'm staying.
When you could buy Chipotle at 12 times earnings, the company is in huge trouble. Like, that is absolutely, I mean, I know it's counterintuitive, but there is something seriously wrong.
It's correct.
I think one of the things we're missing here, too, is, there is huge divergence. We have huge multiple divergence also. But there's a certain level of consumer fickleness also. So you've got fickle tastes, like hamburgers are in, burritos are in, but you also have risks like salmonella, and that can derail things pretty easily. So I don't like this call. Are you saying you're not buying
any of these?
No, I'm not. I used to own Darden a long time ago. I think I bought it when it was like 12 or 13 times. I think I sold it at 15 times. It used to have a big dividend yield, but I don't own any of these. But what I do own, which I think is kind of cool because it's along the same theme of a strong consumer who doesn't necessarily like to buy things but likes experiences instead, is we own Six Flags. So here you've got a company that's trading at 20 times, which isn't too cheap, double-digit earnings growth, and a 5.5% dividend yield, and a much less fickle risk.
And they sell hamburgers at the
They do make a lot of money off of that.
Hamburgers are always
I just want to, like Shake Shack, I bought some in the 20s. I think it was selling at 80 times earnings, and now it's 50. So just like broaden your horizons a little bit away from just like classic valuation metrics, because it's not that valuation doesn't matter. It's that everyone knows what this current valuation is, and clearly there are other drivers. Understand what the other drivers are. Doesn't mean that you'll be right forever buying an expensive stock, but we're talking about trades. Like, nobody trading these stocks is
What about
confused.
something like Domino's, which you've loved?
I've loved Domino's. It was the first to really introduce the digital innovation, and they've perfected it. It's a stock that I got out of quickly, but I also see some similarities between what Domino's did and what Chipotle is doing now with DoorDash.